Joining me now is the Reverend Al Sharpton, host of MSNBC's Politics Nation, president of the National Action Network, and my good friend. Rev, there are a lot of people who don't really know the work of the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice. It's storied. This is a very big deal, stopping its work right now. What's the net effect it's going to have on people?
The net effect is that there will not be a department armed with federal law to protect citizens against hate crime, against crime against women, against crime against LGBTQ. The human rights of all of our citizens were protected by this division, the Civil Rights Division. And let's remember, when you mentioned George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, and you could have mentioned Ahmaud Arbery, all of that happened while President Trump was president, and he did nothing. But the Civil Rights Division under Biden came in and prosecuted the police in George Floyd, even though they had faced state charges and state convictions, and in Ahmaud Arbery. And they had consent decrees with those police departments. With all of that removed, Trump is now trying to have a society where there would be no redress for the George Floyds, no redress for the Minneapolis Police Department, as well as the departments that they put under decree under the Biden administration. So it is to really undo. He's already tried to undo with dealing with the question of suspending DEI. Now we're dealing with him disarming us from even having the law properly investigate civil rights crimes.
So one of the reasons that the Civil Rights Division stepped in the cases that you mentioned is that states sometimes don't have the power. The crime doesn't meet some sort of state standard. And what the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice says is that this crime or this alleged activity violated someone's civil rights, and they go in with federal protection. So sometimes it's the lawsuit of last resort.
It's not only the law. The feds have the resources that some of the states don't have, and it's different federal law. But let's not forget, when he first ran, Charlottesville happened. And you had people marching down the street saying Jews will not replace us. And the Civil Rights Division looks at that. We had the first hate crime summit in the White House with Joe Biden as president, Kamala Harris as vice president, with Jonathan Greenblatt of the American Anti-Defamation League and Mark Morial and myself sharing it. So he has sent a signal in 3 days, that I'm suspending DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and I'm going to shut down the Civil Rights Division. He hasn't even been the president a week and has declared war on the human and civil rights of blacks, of Jews, of gays, LGBTQ, trans. He's declared outright war.
I want to talk about consent decrees. Again, a word that a lot of people don't know in between times that we hear of these police abuses. But it's the federal government basically saying, we've examined your police department or your city. You have a pervasive pattern of discriminatory or bad behavior, and we're going to monitor you and check in on you until you improve. Donald Trump is saying that goes away.
And here's the same guy that claims that the Democrats weaponized the system against him, but he will not have them look at whether or not they're dealing fairly with whole groups of communities, whole groups of people based on who they are. So you can deal with the individual downside, but you can't deal with what could collectively been something that would harm the rights of citizens. This is, I can't think in my lifetime a darker period in terms of dealing with the government not being accountable to protecting the citizens.
You're talking about DEI. Donald Trump has revoked a civil rights rule that prevents workplace discrimination that was enacted by Lyndon Baines Johnson in 1965. Quote, it forbade federal contractors from discriminating on the basis of race, color, religion, national origin, sex, sexual orientation, or gender identity. It granted the Labor Department the power to enforce its provisions. Obviously, some of that has evolved because in 1965 we weren't covering all that stuff. But this was kept in place by Nixon, by Ford, by Reagan, by Bush 41, by Bush 43, all the Democrats included, and for some reason in Donald Trump's first term. But now this idea of being anti-workplace discrimination is categorized as DEI, and it's gone.
It's gone. And you have to ask yourself, what is the motive? If Republican and Democratic presidents have maintained this, let's remember affirmative action started under Richard Nixon, a Republican. His Deputy Secretary of Labor, Arthur Fletcher, wrote it. So what is so atrocious to Donald Trump that nobody before him saw? We certainly can't say the data says that the problems of racial discrimination at the workplace is something that warrants us to just go and do something else, that all of that is resolved. So he's playing to a race-based crowd. He's trying to, in many ways, play this us against them, which is why we have said in National Action Network and other groups that we've got to go after the private sector that wants to end DEI and say those that want to take that side, you don't want diversity, inclusion, and equity, then you should have a diverse consumer base. And we're going to, in 90 days, start targeting some of these companies that say, fine, you can go with Trump, but you will not have our consumer dollar. How did Martin Luther King start? He started by boycotting the Montgomery bus boycott. So sometimes when you won't hear our appeal, you will hear our dollars.
And the other side of that,
the other way.